Today we're going to be writing equations of lines given different information. So we've written equations of lines in y equals mx plus b given a graph or given information related to m and b. Here's an example of that. All right, so the goal here is to substitute in. We're always substituting in the m and the b given m and b. Okay, so y equals, we're going to fill in m, x, and we're going to fill in the b. So in this case, 4 would go here, negative 1 was there. So if you didn't write it with all the stuff, it would look like 4x minus 1, and I would be done. Right? But the idea is the fact that we have to have something in front of x and the b at the end. All right? Now, sometimes with the information that we're given, it's very simple to identify. This is going to be my y-intercept. I know that because I have 0 for x. Anytime I have 0 for x, my y-intercept is negative 3. So b is negative 3. Okay, so what's interesting is that it says first find the slope. As you read through this problem, this should pop out to you because there's a 0 involved. This is kind of like one of those special case points, like the way we have special case lines. All right, so you may actually identify that first. We're going to find the slope between these. So if you remember, we're going to set up the skeleton slope form. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start y to y, x to x. Always start with the far right y. Stay in the pattern, don't switch it up, and you should be okay with slope every single time. So I have a negative 5 up top and a negative 1 in the bottom, which tells me that slope is 5. So I have m and I have b, right? We already said that b is negative 3, so I can write my equation as y is equal to, we're going to fill in this spot and this spot. For this spot, we put the 5 and the negative 3 here. All right? So you've got two types. When we're writing equations from information, you may be given m and b. You may be given 2 points where one of them is the y-intercept. We're going to move into problems now where that simple information isn't given to us and we're asked to write equations. So if I move down here to the bottom using point-slope form, this is a new formula we're going to talk about. Okay? Now I'm going to rewrite it using those boxes and things that I used before. So I'm going to rewrite it as y minus something is equal to, something gets filled in there, x minus something, where this is my y1 and this is my x2. So I'm going to have to fill something into all 3 of these spots. What are the 3 things I fill in? Well, this is called point slope form. So I'm going to need to have definitely a point, and I'm going to have slope. And if you think about it, these 3 things are exactly what go into those missing spaces. So this is my skeleton outline for point slope form. Okay, I'm going to come back and fill in these 3 after we do a couple examples. Right? As you read through the examples, very, very important is to read what form the final answer is in. So they want slope-intercept form. Right? If they want slope-intercept form, that's y equals mx plus b form. However, to do all of the problems that we're going to do, A, B, and C today, we need to start with point slope form. And then we're going to use algebra to transform it. Okay, so for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use point slope form first. One of the things you're going to hear me say every single time is, in order to write the equation of a line, you need a point and a slope. You don't need the y-intercept and a slope, you need point and a slope. So I'm going to start with my point slope form. and I'm going to fill all this information in. Slope goes here. If this is x, this has to match to the x, and this has to match to there. Okay? Now, what I do want to call your attention to is y minus 2 is equal to 4x minus 3. The following. I'm going to show this to you one time. This is where we're at. This is where we want to go. Our steps in our head, what's going to direct us, is that we always want to isolate y in order for the answer to be in slope-intercept form. Get y by itself. Get y by itself. So now we're going to move out of kind of the lesson part and move to algebra. All right? My algebra says y minus 2, distribute, get y by itself. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And then I have my final answer. Notice it is in y equals mx plus b form. Okay. Now let's try the same thing with a fraction. So y minus, fill in the blank. Right? In order to do the problems in Delta Math, you're going to need scrap paper. You're going to need to write things down, do some calculations, do some algebra to get to the final place we want to be. So if I start here, y minus, my y value is negative 3. My slope is negative 1/2. My x is 6. I'm now going to distribute, just like the last one. Negative 1/2 x, that works for me. Multiply here, plus 3, you can put that right in the calculator. Remember, the goal here is to isolate y. And it just so happens that I get a 0 here. You don't need to write it if you don't want to. You can just say y equals negative 1/2 x. And if you remember from previous examples, we would add the plus 0 in order to graph. Bring it down or not write the plus 0. Up to you. All right, last one. Y minus something. Fill in negative 1, the y value. Fill in negative 3, the slope. Fill in the x value is negative 9. Be careful with your substitution. These are not in the same order that you put them in. You have to pull the correct numbers. Y plus 1 equals negative 3. X plus 9, 2 negatives becomes a positive. I just cleaned this up a little bit so it looked nicer to work with. Distribute. And I'm done. Okay. So the first part is using point-slope form, then algebra to get slope-intercept form. The next part of the lesson involves, well, what if we're not given slope and asked to write equations? Again, write the equation in slope-intercept form. Given 2 points, I need to do work first to calculate slope, I'm going to always start at the far right, y to y, x to x, put this in my calculator or my head, I get negative 5 over negative 5, which reduces to 1, so now I have slope. Then I have to pick a point, so I'm going to pick this for my point. Here's my xy. So here's what I have. M equals 1, and I have the point 3, 4. I now go to my point slope form, because that's what I have, and I fill in y minus the y value. M is 1, x minus the x value, which is 3. Okay, now what I'm going to do on the top of these notes, just for your sake, is I'm going to rewrite this as y minus, okay, and we're going to fill this in. This is y1 is equal to, fill this in, slope, x minus, and this is x1 over here. Okay, so you have to fill these three spots in with the correct values, just so you don't have to look at a separate page of notes. Now, when I look here, I need to ask myself, is this a y-intercept? No, this is an x-intercept. So this is not the b value. So I'm going to have to use this same process that I have here. Okay? Please remember, I asked for slope-intercept form. So if you turn this in on a test or quiz, I would say to you, did you solve for y? Did Mrs. Gomer solve for y? She did not. So she's going to have to add 4 here. Okay? Let's distribute the 1x minus 3 first. If I distribute here and here, I get that. Minus 4, I'm going to add 4. And get 1x plus 1. Right? So remember, we have to solve for y, asking for slope-intercept form. Now we come here, we're going to do the same thing with slope. Start at the far right with the 8. 1, negative 3. 8 up top, 4 in the bottom. You can put it right in the calculator. You're going to get a slope of 2. So m is 2. I'm going to pick the point negative 3, 0. Skeleton form. It's kind of getting a little boring, but we're always going to write it. I want, obviously, the y value, which is 0. X value goes here, negative 3. Y equals, this becomes a positive. Distribute here, plus 6. All right. One more like this. No special lines, so I'm going to do my slope first. You'll find there's a pattern to these. Start at the far right number. 1 minus negative 5. 2 subtract 6. 6 over negative 4. Negative 3 halves. And I'm going to pick the point 2, 1. You can choose either. I prefer to pick points that tend to always be all positive. Then I don't make as many sign mistakes. Y minus, x minus. My y value is 1. My slope is negative 3 halves. And my x value is 2. I can distribute here and here. Negative 3 halves x plus 3 is equal to y minus 1. Add 1. Y is equal to negative 3 halves x plus 4. Okay, and I'm done. Your notes did include today a quick reminder. As soon as you see horizontal line, you should think, yo. So the slope is 0. The equation is y is equal to a number. The slope of a vertical line is, u stands for undefined. And the equation is x is equal to a number. These are our special cases. They will not ever be considered slope-intercept form. Okay, they're kind of the special ones. So we will come across those in our equation writing today. Write an equation through 5, negative 7 with a slope of 0. As soon as you see slope of 0, you need to activate your brain to say hoy. Horizontal line, 0 slope. So my answer is y is equal to the number negative 7, which is the y value. Done. No other work required. So as much as it's a pain in the butt when this happens, it's actually algebraically way easier to come up with these answers. Undefined slope. As soon as I see this, I need to think Vux. So that's x equal to, and I have to fill in the x value, which is negative 3, and I'm done. Okay. When I come over to a problem maybe they're not going to tell me in words what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my slope formula just like I did before up top. Start at the far right. Now, when I put this in, I get -12 over 0. This in the bottom is going to be undefined. If you put this in the calculator, it's going to tell you error, can't be done. That means the same thing. Undefined. So when this happens in your calculation, then you want to go right to VUX and say x is equal to some number. Notice x is the same in either one, so the answer is x equals 9. Okay? If I come over here and do that same process, pretty sure your brain's going to tell you this is going to be an alternate example of the same idea. Start at the far right. 2 minus 2 over -4 over -5. So I'm going to get a +1 in the bottom and a 0 up top. A 0 up top is a slope of 0. You can have a 0 up top. You can never divide by 0. That's why this is undefined. As soon as I get this, that's going to tell me, yo, y equals a number. And notice my y is the same in either point, so it doesn't matter which you choose. The answer is y equals 2.